Oh, howdy, YouTube. My name is Twerkules2016. I am currently a sprout going through Final Fantasy XIV for the very first time. And I just wanted to come here and just share a little bit about my experience so far. A little bit of background for me. I've played quite a few MMOs up to this point in time. I played WoW for, gosh, probably like 15, 16 years. I've played old school RuneScape. I've played Star Wars The Old Republic. I've played Destiny. My goodness, I've played a few. And they're all a little bit different, obviously. A few of those do play the same, but that's also partially why I wanted to kind of like talk about my experience so far with 14, because it has been vastly different from anything else I've played before. And on top of just like not having played anything like this before, I've never streamed anything like this before. It's been such a different experience, a great experience. I want that to be clear. I don't want it to sound like I'm gonna drop some negative things here. It's all been fantastic, and I just wanted to share why. Because honestly, it's a plethora of reasons that make playing and streaming Final Fantasy XIV so very different from any other game, any other MMO out there. I feel at this point in time, it's been such a fantastic experience. I love my RPG video games and my TTRPGs. I love playing D&D. I love a good story. The last two God of War games from 2018 and Ragnarok, oh my goodness, amazing, fantastic, wonderful. The Witcher 3, oh, it's so good. I love my story-rich RPGs, and so I think that's part of the reason why Final Fantasy XIV is hitting so nicely for me is the story. That's right. We're going to start off with the MSQ. I know we've got these emotional vampires out there, and that's probably the first thing you want to hear me talk about is the MSQ. Up to this point in time, I have just started Stormblood. So I have completed ARR. I have completed Heaven's Ward. Oh, wow, do I have thoughts and feelings, because nothing could have prepared me for anything I've experienced through this point. ARR, I felt like, was a fantastic way to do some world building, to really set up the players in the world, establishing who does what, a little bit of to why. You know, we don't get the full live, laugh lore of everybody and everything, but we get a general idea, especially of what's happened in the 5 years since the Calamity. Now, I know ARR gets a lot of flack for being a bit of a slog, and I know, too, I have the benefit of having played through ARR, since a lot of things were streamlined to kind of like ease that experience. Especially, my understanding is everything leading up to Titan, the Titan fight, that got trimmed up pretty good. I feel like there were, my understanding is there was a lot of back and forth, and a lot of that got cleaned up. So I do understand I have the benefit of probably seeing it the best it will probably ever be, in terms of just they've streamlined it probably the best that they can to keep the world building and story intact there without being a little too choppy. And so for me, ARR, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a fantastic time. I really loved the primal fights. Trials have been some of my favorite experiences throughout the MSQ so far. One, I love a good boss fight. I love my Dark Souls games, Elden Ring, where I can really just get involved in a boss fight. Combat's obviously quite different, but I love that feeling of, all right, it's you and me and technically 3 to 7 of my friends in this duty. But on top of just like, oh, it's a boss fight, mechanics have been a lot of fun to like see and get acquainted with. But most importantly, I feel like we can all agree, holy crap, does the music slap so hard in these trials. Every time I'm floored by, oh, that's a banger. Oh, that's a banger. Oh, that's a banger. Getting into Garuda and hearing Now Fall. Oh my god! I was just like, oh, okay, all right, we're in it. And I've really enjoyed a lot of the trials in ARR, and post ARR, and I love the primals. You know, designs are cool, fights are cool, music is cool, but I feel like the lore around the primals, it's a very expanding kind of lore that we're going through the game at this point in time. I feel like we come into ARR and there's a pretty, clear definition of what a primal is. And then as we go through mostly post ARR, things start to change with what's a primal again? With King Moggle kind of sort of not really being a deity, but kind of a deity. You do Coils of Bahamut. with the Phoenix. I feel like there is an ever changing definition of primal, especially with Shiva as well. You've got Odin with his sword being the primal, and then you've got Thornton, God King Thornton, and the Heaven's Ward Knights, who have also kind of pulled a Shiva to turn into primals. I feel like it's a very changing definition of what truly is a primal. I've enjoyed kind of seeing that evolve throughout the game. I really fell in love with the Scions in ARR. I feel like we all did. Especially for me, I started as a gladiator, which means I started in Ul'dah with my boy Thancred, and personally, I feel like that was probably the best option for a first playthrough of starting in Ul'dah. One, I feel like it makes the... Obviously, we're going to talk about spoilers here. The Thancred La Brea reveal, I feel like it makes that one hurt just a little bit more, having spent the most time with Thancred, especially from the very beginning of the game. At the end of ARR 2.55 with the Feast and Nanamo, that one's going to hit no matter what. But again, I feel like the knife in the heart gets twisted just a little bit more when you start in Ul'dah. I think my understanding is there is technically a canonic starting point, I think potentially in Gridania. But for me, I feel like just from a story perspective, which makes a lot of things in ARR hit a little bit more, Ul'dah just really, I'm so glad I chose that. I'm so glad I chose that. That was not intentional. I wanted to be a paladin, so obviously gladiator had to be what I started off with. And was like, Ul'dah, all right, cool, whatever, awesome, sweet. That brings me to the next point is, wow, did they not hold back with the Feast and Nanamo poisoning, the betrayal of the Crystal Braves and everything. That was, again, nothing could have prepared me for that. And I'm going to say this a lot, I feel like, because the Feast was just the tip of the iceberg. Because Heaven's Ward takes the end of ARR with Wilred dying, RIP. What a good lad who was just trying to do right by his people. It takes Nanamo dying. Thank God. Oh my goodness gracious me. I could not tell you the relief I felt when Nanamo came back to us. I love that little Lala so freaking much. Her, Tataru, Wedge. I love my Lala squads. Kryl, they're all fantastic. But Heaven's Ward takes, I feel like, a lot of that emotions, that not afraid to punch you in the gut riding, and they just really ride that in Heaven's Ward. They ride that so hard in the best way. It's not like it's over the top. It's not CW drama. It's something bad happening for the sake of something bad happening, even though it's kind of garbage storytelling. Nah, the writing team does a fantastic job of giving these moments real reasons to happen, to have real effects, and to really reach their hands into our chest and just squeeze our heart. Going into the vault, I had no idea. And it's so funny hindsight, because when you stream on Twitch, you kind of get an idea. You get a feel like, okay, something's probably gonna happen. People kind of show up a little bit more, kind of start talking a little bit more. And so I had an idea that we were getting to something important happening. I ended stream on right when I unlocked the vault. So I started the next stream day after, 2 days later, and that's what began with was the vault. It was like, oh, hey, on social media, like, we're going into the vault. I'm so excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. What's going to happen? I teared up with Nanamo, but good God, did I cry with Orshafant. That was more than a gut punch. That was just a pure sucker punch. A smile better suits a hero is just an impeccable line.
A smile better suits a hero.
And I can never forgive Yoshi P for doing that, the writing team for doing that, because they really introduced such a sweet, kind, caring, noble character who, in your interactions, you're like, this is a good person. This is a pure soul. This is a noble human being. And to have that happen was just, wow. I don't think I've still fully processed that one. I'm not going to lie. I think that is a little bit of as much as I've tried to take breaks from the MSQ and such, that is something that has been a lot these past couple months of streaming the game, is because you get the scene with Orshifant the Vault. And then it's like, okay, let's go chase down Thordan, Ozzy Slaw. Let's go do this stuff. You do Bismarck, yada yada. You get Y'shtola back, which was amazing. Oh my god, what a sequence that was. It's off to Ozzy Slaw, and then Yzael, Lady Iceheart, is the next friend to sacrifice herself. And that one, again, that happened so soon after I did the vault. It's the low of Orshifant, it's the high of Y'shtola, it's the low of Yzael, and it's a lot. It's all good. But I think that's something that's kind of been tough, and I feel like that's, a very common sentiment, too, for anyone else who goes through the MSQ at this point in time, is you have those two moments. You have the end of 3.0 with Estinian being consumed by the eyes of Nidhogg. Sorry, I played God of War Ragnarok right before I played 14, and they say Nidhogg, not Nidhogg. So yeah, I'm going to say Nidhogg. I'm so sorry. Nidhogg just sounds weird to say. You have that moment with Estinian, and you're just like, oh my god, okay, like, I've lost a friend, I've gotten a friend back, I've lost a friend, I've lost another friend, question mark? And then you keep going through the motions, and I think it's 3.1, you've got the scene where Emmerich gets stabbed while you're off trying to negotiate with the dragons, and it cuts back to you, and you have no idea, and it's like, is he alive? Is he okay? Like, what's the deal? I didn't speed through the dialogue in the sense of, like, skipping, but at the same time, just like, okay, come on. My anxiety was hitting because it's just like, I just lost 3 friends. I don't want to lose a 4th. Thankfully, he ends up being okay, which is great, fantastic. We get some more friends back with Thancred, which is fantastic. I love my boy. You got the end of 3.2 with Nidhogg Estinian attacking Vidofnir, like, oh my god, did we lose Vidofnir? No, you don't. But I feel like Heavensward, especially at the end there, is so much of a roller coaster in the best way. This is by no means a complaint. It's more of just, I've been on a ride, I feel like, these past few months, and it has been a time and a half. Especially as that culminates to the final fight of 3.3, the true showdown with Nidhogg. You've got the incredible moments with Hraesvelgr fighting Nidhogg, and then I just feel like it's such a cinematic, beautiful, well done fight with Nidhogg. Just like that moment leading up to it, where you've got in between the cutscene of the dragons fighting and walking into the duty on the bridge. That moment is fantastic, and then going into it, Dragon Song playing the way it does is phenomenally beautiful. I cannot express how amazing the music has been in this game. With Answers, Dragon Song, it's been incredible, especially when it comes into play in moments like that, with the fight with Nidhogg, with the fight in Coils of Bahamut with Bahamut Prime. The way Answers played throughout that final fight was such a unique experience, I feel, because it shifts from Answers reprised to mostly vocals. It's very almost like hollow, and then the orchestra kicks in when Bahamut does his big giant flare attack. Oh my goodness, I love that fight. But that fight with Nidhogg, and at the end of it, when it's Estinian's form and it's you and Alfie trying to get the eyes off, and then you have Yzael and Orshifant coming through the ether to help. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about that. That was incredible. I feel every award that Heavensward got, okay? People like to, in the award-winning Heavensward, I have felt every single award that expansion has received, okay? And I didn't realize, too, when doing that it was just going to keep riding that high. Because after 3.3, I did take like a little bit of break. I did Gladiator Paladin for ARR, but then I did hit a point where my chat suggested I do Dragoon for Heavensward, so I leveled up Dragoon, Lancer Dragoon, prior to going into Heavensward. After 3.3, I took a little bit of a break so that I could level up Samurai for Stormblood, because I'm going to try and play kind of like the chosen job, so to speak, for each expansion at this point in time. So I've done my best to like not only do MSQ, because something I realized I didn't really talk about when I covered ARR, where I did Coils of Bahamut immediately. Obviously, you have to do Crystal Tower. Absolutely, I did the Hildebrand quest lines. Oh my goodness, did I love the Hildy quest. And I love the Coils of Bahamut from a story perspective and also just like a raid perspective. I did things unsynced. That was what was recommended to me just because of the mechanics apparently not aging so well. So I can't really speak wholeheartedly to like a raid perspective. But from a raid series storytelling standpoint, that was fantastic. Crystal Tower was wonderful. Fun fact, in the past couple of months, well after I've done Crystal Tower, I've started playing the pixel remasters of the early Final Fantasy games, and I just finished Final Fantasy III the other day, which is Crystal Tower. So that was really cool to revisit some of the older games and kind of get to see where a lot of inspiration has come from. But I loved Hildebrand. I loved Coils of Bahamut. I loved Crystal Tower. It was amazing. And similar in post Heaven's Ward after 3.3, I did the Warring Triad Trials, which were so cool. That was a really interesting experience with not only those primals, all being from Mericidia, which I thought was very interesting because Bahamut, Mericidia, and then you have those three primals, Mericidia. I thought that was very interesting how they kind of almost keep coming back to that a little bit, that continent. I don't know, still not very clear on that one. And then also with Unukalhai and his little bit of lore where he was on a different reflection of our planet that was consumed by darkness. That was quite interesting, kind of get a little bit of that snippet of lore. Wasn't really expecting that, I'm gonna be honest with you, but I loved every bit of it. And then obviously I did the Alexander raid series, I did the Void Ark raid series, which were all incredible. Mide and Red Bill really make me want to play Machinist. I am currently having a tough time trying to play other jobs outside of the main job I'm doing for the MSQ, so I haven't quite made time for the Machinist, but I really want to, especially after those raid series and those incredible stories with them, especially Alexander. That was phenomenal, and that was a great final fight for Alexander as well. Alexander Prime was so cool. That was so cool. Oh my goodness. The time stopping was fantastic. That was wild. All of that was so wild. Timey-wimey stuff is just, sometimes it's like, what? Huh? Huh? But then you get like really cool ones like that, and then the sentimental bits of it, and then you find out Mide and her love, they did manage to like make it out of their weird time void thing that they were in, and that just, finding that out at the end just made my heart so happy. And of course, I did the Hildebrand questline for Heaven's Ward as well, before diving into 3.4 and 3.5 and getting to Stormblood. And good God Almighty, could I not anticipate what was going on with the Warriors of Darkness. That whole thing was a wild time. It's like, okay, these guys, who are you? What's the big deal? Like, take a chill pill, bud. But then you get that moment at the end of 3.4 that just absolutely floored me. Going through the Warriors of Darkness, their story of what happened to them, what happened to their world, and not just from a writing perspective, but the acting. Good God Almighty, Gendry Baratheon from Game of Thrones with Joe Dempsey, phenomenal performance.
We did everything right. Everything that was asked of us, and still it came to this.
Gives me chills thinking about it, and that was incredible. Just incredible performance and writing. Having that moment at the end of 3.4 with Minfilia finally truly coming back to us, to then go to that reflection of the Warriors of Darkness and them to go with her to take the harshness of the light or whatever is going to happen and save their planet, their people. That was incredible. I was in a state of shock. I was completely dumbfounded. That was an experience. And then 3.5 happens. I cannot express the vitriolic hatred I have for Ilberd. I hate that character so much. Not because he's a bad character. We can all agree he was written very well, which is why we hate him. That whole scene on the wall was a shock in so many ways. Not only was it pretty hard to watch a little bit, to see these Alamegan rebels who just want their home back to just be absolutely massacred like that, and then to have that moment with Ilberd falling off the wall with the eyes in his hands, and to cut to the piled up bodies to show the massacre. The way they did, I don't know if it was like the color grading or whatever, but they definitely had a certain filter on it almost to really amplify, I guess, like the gruesomeness of it. And cutting to Ilberd's face, frozen in death, It was all very well done and horrifying. And my boy Papa Limo. God, that was tough. I really feel like, from my experience, I didn't get that much time with him. Starting in Ul'dah was a big part of it. And then for Heaven's Ward, he and Ida are pretty MIA until the very end there. But at the same time, that one was tough. I appreciate the writers giving us the option to have the dialogue to stay by Papa Limo's side or trust in Papa Limo and leave. And for me, again, so much of these big story emotional beats have happened relatively close together. When on release, obviously they're coming out months apart, so you kind of have more time to process. There was no way I was selecting the option to trust in Papa Limo and leave. That wasn't happening for me. There was not a chance in hell. As a player, and as my Warrior of Light character, who is tired of seeing his friends sacrifice themselves, I was like, I am staying by your side. And that little potato magic blasted me onto the ship. I love him for it. And I love him for his sacrifice. And that was beautiful. I feel like that's something they've done very well throughout the game with these story beats that really punch you in the stomach, is that they are beautifully done. And I cannot commend the writing team enough for that one. It makes it feel so much more than, again, that CW like drama having for the sake of drama. Like, no, this was well written in so many ways. And then, getting to see the Omega and Shinryu fight was incredible. That was so unexpected and so awesome. I believe I heard that was a reference to Final Fantasy V, potentially. So I'm in 4, so I'm about to play 5, I guess, coming up soon. So I'm excited to see that. That was really awesome. And it really capped off just a wild ride that was Heaven's Ward. And now it's time for Stormblood, and I'm so excited for Stormblood. Kind of had my first gut punch last night on stream, where my Warrior of Light first met Xenos in Ralger's Reach. My boy Mefred hated that. Mefred was a homie, and I was not prepared to get punched in the gut so soon into Stormblood. Truly was not. That was amazing. In the sense of writing wise. Hated to watch it. And then got my ass handed to me too by the bad guy. So that's been a time. That was a wild experience. It was all very well done. I love this game and I love the story to it so much. And I don't think I have felt so emotionally connected to a story and its characters the way I do with Final Fantasy XIV. It's all written so very well. From a story standpoint, that's a big reason it sets itself apart from all the other MMOs out there, is the MSQ. A million times over the MSQ. But I think what also really adds to it, the community. The Final Fantasy XIV community has been so welcoming to me as a player and also as a content creator. I really feel like I am a Final Fantasy XIV content creator now, not just I'm a variety streamer just playing the games that I want to play. Like, it's Final Fantasy XIV or pretty much bust. Few exceptions are going to be out there. Hades 2. Hello, beautiful. But it's Final Fantasy XIV. And I feel so welcomed in by the community, from the response on my first YouTube video of playing the game. Also, my first reaction to a Realm Reborn trailer. There was such incredible responses. Then on Twitch, being so welcomed in by the community from players, viewers, and other content creators. There have been some amazing streamers I've gotten to meet through this, like Kira Aurora, Ponto. They've all been fantastic. So welcoming, so kind. And the 14 community, with its willingness to help new players and each other, whether they're new or experienced, has been it's been wild to see, coming from so many years of WoW where I really felt like I was playing by myself, that I didn't have a community to play with. I didn't really, I had some guilds, but at the same time, I wasn't really a part of it all. But 14, I can feel the community's presence, and that makes it such a special experience to be a part of such a fantastic community that I feel like there's not another game out there, not just MMO, I mean pure video game, that does not have a community like Final Fantasy XIV has. The community is fantastic. I can't gush on that enough. The community is fantastic. And I feel like the cherry on top of the sundae that is the MSQ, the soundtrack, oh my goodness, the soundtrack. Sultana Dreaming the Night theme for Ul'dah is probably gonna be like my #1 song played on Spotify this year. That song just brings me so much peace. Well, on top of the MSQ, the soundtrack, and the community, it's all the fun little things like the glams and mounts and minions, because there's so many of them. Yes, you can buy things on the store with real money, but there's so much of it you can get in the game by just playing it, and it's all so very good. I'm not gonna lie, I've bought my fair share of glams and mounts and minions and emotes off the store already, which is wild because I played WoW for like 15-16 years and I never once bought anything. It's all so very fun. I love to start off streams where my community comes over in the game and I get to see their glams. That's how every stream starts off with. It's just everyone's showing up and showing their glams, and that is so cool to see because everyone looks so good. It's always so fun to see just like the themes they have, their characters, the alts they have, the RP characters. It's incredible. Incredible. Just the glams, the mounts, the minions, and the emotes. I love it so much. And then the events too. My event experience is limited so far, but I've gotten to go through a few of the holiday events. But I think my favorite event so far has been the Final Fantasy XVI crossover. I won't talk into detail because I know that one does cover some early game spoilers for 16 that a lot of people have been trying to avoid, at least until 16 comes to PC later on in the year, I believe. But I just felt like from a story perspective and combat perspective, and then rewards with Mount Minion and Glams, that was such an incredible, absolutely incredible event to experience and play through. So much so that I have started recording Final Fantasy 16 in my free time for YouTube. I'm trying to get a good chunk of the way into the game before that starts coming to YouTube, just because I am a busy person. I do have a full-time job career outside of streaming and content, so all that to say, I love Final Fantasy 14. This has been such a unique experience for me as a player and streamer. I've cried so much with the story. I know I'm going to keep crying more. I'm going to keep being blown away by the soundtrack, the community, the glams, the mounts, the minions, the events. It's one of those things where I know this game is going to keep being incredible, phenomenal, and it makes me so excited because I'm only just in the beginnings of Stormblood. So I have the rest of this expansion. I've got Shadowbringers, I've got Endwalker, and then Dawn Trail right around the corner. This is a special game and experience. I'm so glad I get to share it with all of you on YouTube and Twitch, and I really appreciate y'all being along for the ride. I'm Torcules2016. You can find me on Twitch at the same handle. Also, this is my merch. I am the Hostile Presence shirt. You can find that on Fourth Wall. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Follow along. Like, subscribe if you would like to. I would love to have you. Stay cheeky, folks. I'll see you soon.